Hello again. The Canadian Council for Public-Private Partnerships has a special award for people who individually have contributed greatly to the development of public-private partnerships. The Champion Award is the highest award the Council accords and is reserved for a person that stands out as a leader in moving P3s forward. There have been 24 champions awarded to date, and today we'll add one more, honoring a new champion, Stephen Nakin, Executive VP of Aecon and President of Aecon Concessions. Steve spearheads the development of large-scale infrastructure projects both domestically and internationally, and successfully exporting the Canadian model and expertise to global markets. He's been instrumental in leading innovative P3 finance models to better facilitate the development of significant infrastructure projects, delivering world-class sustainable solutions that drive economic growth and improve the quality of life. Steve has played an integral role in the evolution of P3s within Aecon for over 20 years, leading critical projects in Canada and internationally, while pioneering and championing the model through widespread collaboration within the industry. Before joining Aecon in 2002, he worked for the global law firm of White & Case, advising government agencies, banks, and industry in developing, implementing, and financing major international infrastructure projects. Steve studied in Boston, getting a BA from Brandeis University and a JD from Boston College Law School. And if you pick up a faint accent when Steve is talking, it's not Boston, more Johannesburg. Steve seems to seek out the most difficult, creative, and challenging projects, and you'll hear about a few of them shortly. But really, when you look at it, they include the LF Wade International Airport redevelopment project from conception to construction and during the current 30-year O&M phase. Built sustainably and factoring in the impacts of climate change, the airport can now withstand wind speeds equivalent to Category 5 hurricane. Before this, Steve led the team to design, finance, construct, and operate the state-of-the-art Quito International Airport in Ecuador. He had an important role in forming the partnerships for an encyclopedia of challenging P3 infrastructure projects, including the Union Pearson Express, Eglinton Crosstown, Waterloo Ion Stage 1 and Finch West LRTs, and the Transborder Gordie Howe International Bridge project. Currently, Steve is leading the team on one of Aecon's most recently awarded projects, the GO Expansion On-Corridor Works project in the Greater Golden Horseshoe area of Ontario, the largest project in the province's history, delivering sustainable transit infrastructure that will electrify and transform the GO Rail network into a system that will deliver two-way, all-day service every 15 minutes or less across 5 rail corridors. Steve has propelled Aecon forward in the P3 space, becoming a champion in the continuous optimization of P3s and the new progressive and collaborative model through exciting, complex, and unprecedented new projects. He's been vital in transforming the P3 space and building a first-rate reputation with clients, partners, industry peers, unions, and governments. Steve's influence and leadership contributed to the broader acceptance of the model in Canada and ultimately to making Canada a recognized global leader. Steve always gave freely of his time and his expertise at every point in the development of the Council and the organization, and its members will forever be indebted to him. In 2013, Steve joined the board of the Canadian Council for P3 and quickly became one of its most active members, serving on the board and the executive committee. Steve also played a key role in developing the Council's renewed strategic plan. He's been a very active and valuable member, and when he steps down from the board at the AGM later this month, we'll miss him greatly. So there you go. What a fantastic professional career you've had, Steve. But in addition to what looks like a tremendous CV, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Steve engages very well with people. He's a good partner, a great collaborator, a strong communicator, and a very genuine, honest, and likable person. And somehow in the midst of all this professional success, he's found the time to be a proud father of 4 daughters, who I know he has to split his time between the professional and personal obligations. So the Council recognizes the commitment that Steve Nakin has had to PPPs and to the Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Steve Nakin as the newest champion of the Canadian Council.
a lot to listen to. The 4 daughters, by the way, is the biggest achievement. I was teased yesterday by one of my young colleagues about bringing a thick stack of paper with me to my opening remarks. He was afraid I would be up here giving a talk for 3 hours. But I explained to him that there comes a point in your career when your speeches need to be in 18-point font. Like a children's book. So not to worry that I would be brief. So I have some paper with me here today, but big font. I will be brief. I had an atypical first encounter with the Canadian Council for P3s. In 1999, I was a young South African P3 lawyer preparing to immigrate to Canada, fully determined to make my future and my mark in Canada's young and growing P3 industry. My first appointment on landing was going to be with Jane Peach, who was then the CEO of the council. I could not make that appointment because my immigration process ran into trouble. See, clearly I had already been flagged as a security threat. Rather than just writing me off, Jane referred me to an immigration attorney in Toronto for help. And he gave me the best help a young aspiring P3 junkie could ever wish for, an introduction to John Beck, who was then Aecon's CEO and already a legend in the Canadian and international P3 arena. Of course, someone who would become my mentor, as he has for so many others in this room. First meeting with John was hastily set up. I was here on vacation, and all I had to wear was a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, which remains an urban office legend at Aecon, and they still struggle to get me into a suit. But even in my totally inappropriate attire, or maybe because of it, John and I clicked instantly, and it was just a short while until I was employed at Aecon and shipped off to Ecuador to see how I could help with an airport project that Aecon had recently bid. But my journey to that point had been even more circuitous, actually. My university training prior to law was actually in psychology. And until I stumbled on P3s by complete accident, I was all set to become a clinical psychologist. Today, of course, I realize that it all made perfect sense because, as we've all experienced, psychology is the silent P in P3s. My point in all this is to show how we all come to this arena from many diverse backgrounds, different countries, different cultures, different professional backgrounds, perspectives, but what binds us, I feel, is our intellectual curiosity, our drive to solve three-dimensional puzzles, our collective passion to have an impact, and our spirit of partnership to work together to deliver truly meaningful outcomes, to transform our communities and our countries, our economies for the better. And in the process, we ourselves are transformed and so wonderfully enriched by the people we're lucky to work with, even and maybe especially when the challenges are great as they are today. I've never considered the work I do a job. Even the word career doesn't do it justice. I feel proud to be able to move the needle on infrastructure of all sorts in different countries and cities around the world, and to feel like all of it really amounts to something. And I really cherish all of the relationships and friendships forged along the way. Throughout, I've been blessed to work with some of the most talented professionals in the business, our Aecon team sitting right in front of me, concessions, our corporate, and our construction groups. Those who've worked with them know they're there in part because they're just so damn good at what they do, but more so that they bring the right values to our work with all of you each and every day, making it a pleasure to work with them. As I mentioned in my opening remarks yesterday, Canada's P3 industry has been around for 30 years, precisely equal to the typical term of a concession or project agreement. And here we are at the table looking for an extension. to our term for another 30 years or more, which I fully intend to participate in. I'm extremely honored and humbled to receive this award from the Canadian Council, and would like to thank the awards committee and my fellow board members for this recognition. Not much more paper. P3 model is our collective playground, and it has been just fascinating and personally fulfilling for me to play in it with the incredible teams, clients, public and private sector partners, all of you that I've had the privilege of working with over the past couple of decades. As the P3 model continues to evolve, I look forward to being at the crest of the wave with all of you. And while today I'm the proud recipient of this Champion Award, and apologies if this sounds a little corny, but in the immortal words of Freddie Mercury, we are the champions, my friends. Thank you.